Her husband smirked as he signed the divorce papers, thinking he had won, that he had the upper hand in their long, tense marriage. Little did he know, he was walking into a courtroom where the truth would turn everything upside down. Today, the air was thick with tension. The room was quiet, except for the shuffle of papers and the soft hum of the air conditioning. As everyone waited for the judge to speak, she sat there, calm but determined, her eyes steady, hiding a secret that no one expected. The whispers in the courtroom hinted at a story much bigger than a simple divorce. This wasn't just about money or property, it was about identity, resilience, and justice. As the judge prepared to announce a revelation that would leave everyone stunned, the husband's confident smile began to falter. The moment was coming when all his assumptions, all his laughter, would meet a truth he never saw coming. What she had endured, and what she had achieved in silence, was about to flip the script completely. By the time the judge spoke, lives would change forever. And what happened next would shock not just her husband, but everyone in that courtroom. For years, no one in their circle truly knew the struggles she had quietly faced. Behind the polished exterior and polite smiles, she had been working tirelessly, building a life that her husband never noticed, focused only on his own ambitions. Friends and family often assumed she was dependent on him, always following his lead, but the reality was far different. Every late night, every sacrifice, had been her way of quietly preparing for the moment when she could claim her independence and prove her strength. Her husband had always underestimated her. He thought his laughter in the courtroom was justified, that she was powerless, that the divorce was just a formality, but what he didn't know was the extent of her preparation, the careful planning that had been happening right under his nose. Every legal move she had made, every document submitted, every silent phone call, it was all part of a strategy designed to turn the tables completely. As the courtroom waited, she sat still, letting the tension build, her mind steady even as her heart raced. Outside, people whispered about the drama unfolding, curious who would come out on top. Inside, the clock ticked closer to the moment when her secret would finally be revealed, and no one could predict the shock it would bring. As the judge cleared his throat, the room seemed to shrink with anticipation. The husband shifted in his seat, still wearing a smug grin, unaware that the ground beneath him was about to shake. Across the courtroom, she remained composed, her hands resting quietly on her lap. But inside, her mind raced through every moment that had led to this day, the broken promises, the countless arguments, the nights spent planning a life he never thought she could create on her own. The conflict went beyond their personal battle. Friends who had taken sides whispered among themselves, unsure of what to expect. Colleagues from her workplace, who had always admired her resilience, watched with a mix of curiosity and concern. There was even a subplot involving her younger sister, who had secretly helped gather crucial evidence about financial mismanagement and hidden assets. Details that her husband thought were safely out of reach. Every thread of her life, every quiet effort, was converging in this one courtroom moment. Meanwhile, the husband's lawyer exchanged uneasy glances, sensing that the situation was slipping out of their control. What had started as a routine divorce had evolved into something far more complex, revelation that could expose not only financial truths but the depth of deception and underestimation that had defined their marriage. Every eye in the room was fixed on the judge, waiting. As the tension climbed higher with each passing second, the courtroom was silent, the kind of silence that presses against your chest and makes every second feel like an eternity. Her husband's confident smile had begun to falter, replaced by a flicker of unease. He could feel the shift in the room, though he didn't yet understand its source. Every glance, every subtle movement, told him something was about to happen that he couldn't control. She kept her eyes on the judge, her calm exterior masking the whirlwind of emotions and nervousness, but above all, a fierce determination. All the late nights, the hidden efforts, the painstaking planning had been building to this very moment. Around her, whispers grew louder, friends and strangers sensing that something extraordinary was unfolding. Even the court reporter paused slightly, sensing the tension thickening in the air. Her husband's mind raced as he realized that the divorce he thought would humiliate her might instead expose truths he had tried to hide for years. The legal documents he had considered routine were suddenly part of a story he didn't understand. He glanced around, looking for allies, but everyone in the courtroom seemed to be holding their breath, waiting for the bombshell the judge was about to drop. The judge adjusted his glasses, opened the folder in front of him, and took a deep breath. The moment of revelation, the climax that would change everything, was seconds away, and the room seemed to lean forward as if it could hear the future unravel before it even happened. Just as the judge began to speak, the tension in the room thickened, and a new layer of suspense rippled through everyone present. The husband's eyes narrowed, sensing something unexpected, though he couldn't pinpoint it. He had prepared for this divorce in every possible way, or so he thought, but there was a second twist waiting that would make everything he believed unravel. A quiet murmur spread among the courtroom spectators as the judge paused, flipping through pages that seemed to carry a hidden weight. She had anticipated this moment, and a subtle smile flickered across her face. Her plan had never been just about revealing her true status or claiming what was rightfully hers. She had uncovered something that would challenge her husband's authority, reputation, and control completely. Meanwhile, the husband's lawyer exchanged worried glances. Realizing that the documents in the judge's hands were not just ordinary legal papers, they held proof of decisions, accounts, and contracts the husband thought were secure, all pointing to a secret he had tried to hide for years. Friends and family who had assumed they knew the full story now sat on the edge of their seats, realizing that the drama was far from over. Every second stretched endlessly, as if the courtroom itself was holding its breath. The next words from the judge promised not just shock, but a cascade of consequences that could change everything in ways no one, especially her husband, had imagined. The judge finally spoke, his voice steady but carrying the weight of the moment. After reviewing all evidence, it is clear that the wife is not only entitled to the assets in question, but she also holds controlling authority in the company. They built together authority that was never legally transferred to her husband. The courtroom erupted in shocked gasps. Her husband's jaw dropped. Disbelief etched across his face as he realized that every assumption he had made about power and control had been completely wrong. She stood quietly, letting the moment sink in. Her years of patience, strategic planning, and resilience had led to this vindication. Friends and family who had doubted her now looked at her with admiration, witnessing a triumph born not of anger, but of intelligence and perseverance. Every silent sacrifice, every careful move, had been part of a plan that she executed flawlessly. Just as the tension began to ease, the judge added one more revelation, twisting the story further. Additionally, all undisclosed transactions during the marriage have been frozen pending investigation, which may reveal financial discrepancies that could have serious implications for both parties. The courtroom went silent again, this time in stunned anticipation. Her husband's confident smirk was gone, replaced by the bitter taste of irony. She had not only won the battle she was expected to lose, but the final twist hinted that justice and consequences were far from over. As she walked out of the courtroom, calm yet unshakable, it was clear that she had rewritten the rules of her own story, leaving everyone, including her husband, forever changed. After the courtroom drama ended, she stepped outside into the sunlight, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. The battle had been more than legal, it had been about respect, recognition, and proving her own strength. Friends and family surrounded her, offering congratulations, but she remained thoughtful, reflecting on how far she had come. Every challenge, every moment of doubt, had shaped her into someone who could face the world with confidence. Her husband, meanwhile, left the courtroom in silence, forced to confront the consequences of underestimating her. The hidden transactions under investigation promised to reveal more truths, but she was no longer worried about what he thought or controlled. She had reclaimed her life, her independence, and her dignity. Even her younger sister, who had helped behind the scenes, felt proud knowing her support had been part of a bigger triumph. In the weeks that followed, she focused on rebuilding and growing her career and personal life. The courtroom victory became a story of resilience, strategy, and empowerment, inspiring others who had faced similar struggles. She had turned humiliation into triumph, laughter into lessons, and doubt into undeniable proof of her capability. Life had changed forever, but one thing was clear: she would never be underestimated again, and her story would leave a lasting mark on everyone who witnessed it.